The last time I breastfed my daughter wasn't as special as I had wanted it to be. I wanted some quiet, alone time, just her and me, so I could tell her how much I love our time together and that I promised this would only be temporary. And I wanted to get a picture too, if I could, of her pausing and smiling. But the day ended hectically with dinner preparation and my young son feeling out of sorts. So the next morning, I began the medication and the painful process of switching my daughter to the bottle. I don't know who resented it more, her or me. Near the end of the week, the lump hadn't gotten any better, so the doctors wanted to switch me to another antibiotic. This one lasted for 2 weeks. I was so upset, but what could I do? So during this time, I tried to recreate as best I could some special bonding time between me and my daughter and the bottle. It wasn't very successful. Whether she truly felt betrayed or I simply project this on her behalf, I don't know. It just wasn't the same.
My breastfeeding haiku. 7 months old, one big chomp between sucks, nursing done forever.
November 29th. Dear Journal, the second batch of antibiotics has not been effective, so the doctor ordered a mammogram. The mammogram apparently looked suspicious, so they recommend a biopsy.
Think globally, but act locally has always been my motto. I remember a few years back when my friends and I got very distressed about how in our country we pay very little attention to global hunger, and yet the beef industry is force-feeding excess grain to cattle to increase their profits. Well, we agonized about this, we wrote a lot of letters, we convinced several people to convert to vegetarianism. The last straw for me was when I walked up to the market one day and saw these big signs saying, "Buy the milk-fed beef." I didn't even get what I went for. I went straight home, called up my friends who were nursing like I was at the time, and told them to meet me back down at the store. So there we were, standing in front of the store with our babies, nursing, handing out leaflets on vegetarianism and world hunger. We got a really good response. I'm telling you, nursing is the natural way to grab people's attention.
December 12th, dear Journal, I feel cold. My blood is laden with icicles and I just cannot get warm. My world has turned upside down. The biopsy has confirmed I have breast cancer. It can't be true though, there must be a mistake. I have always heard breastfeeding women could not get breast cancer. In fact, I just read it on this well-known website for a breastfeeding group. They have to know what they're talking about. This can't be happening. They want to take my breast.
When I found out I was pregnant with my first child, I bought every book I could find on pregnancy, birth, breastfeeding, and baby care. I spent the first 5 months reading and dreaming about the new life growing inside of me. Then, in my 6th month, things went very wrong, and my son was born 2.5 months early and only weighed just under 3 pounds. Because I hadn't gone through the last trimester of my pregnancy, my milk just wasn't flowing very well, and of course, he had such a hard time sucking. I tried using one of those human milking machines, and that seemed to help. He had an easier time sucking on the bottle, and it was was still my milk. But I always worried there wasn't enough of it. There never seemed to be enough of it. Then one evening, a good friend came to visit. She had just given birth to her second child, and she had the opposite problem, too much milk. She'd feed her daughter as often as the baby wanted, but was still so full, it was sometimes painful. We sat there and we talked about the unfairness of it all and how the universe seemed to be out of order. When she finished nursing her daughter, her 4-year-old crawled up beside her and said, "Mommy, your milk tanks are still so full." It made us laugh despite his obvious sincerity. And then, I'm not sure which one of us said it first, but one of us suggested that with my lack and her abundance, maybe the universe wasn't out of order. Maybe we just needed to pool our resources in order to feed our babies. I was struck by the history of women who for years had nursed other women's infants. True, sometimes it was forced and oppressive, like the female slaves forced to sacrifice the health of their own children for the babies of their masters, or the women who, out of economic necessity, had to rent out their breasts as wet nurses. But here was a friend willingly offering her milk to help my child thrive. Since then, I've heard similar stories of family and friends nursing each other's babies. What an amazing blessing.
January 30th. Dear Journal, it's been a while since I've written. My left breast is gone, and with it went my hair. Though I now have some very short hair, it's not a bad look. I broke my promise to my daughter. I never once was able to breastfeed her again after that one night. Lost are the days of milky smiles and innocence. Well, they're lost, but they're not forgotten. Those days, they're burned deep inside my heart and will reside there till the day I die. And herein lies what matters the most. Today, I am alive. A little worse for the wear, granted, but alive to share new moments with my son, my husband, my daughter. I am less gullible, but more loved, less symmetrical, but more thankful. I've lost much, but I've gained too. Broken promises are not the end of the world.